can I do to prepare for my NQT year over the summer? Don't feel guilty if you do want to prepare things and if you are excited about setting up your classroom and that's something that you want to dedicate your time to over the summer. Consider how you're going to file and organise things in your classroom, things like your wall headings for the different curricular areas. I feel like these are things that you just never get around to doing. You're going to want to start planning for the first day back. I just walked in so naive, not having a clue what I was doing, and if I can make it, so can you. Hi everyone, it is Jen or Miss Ross here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Something that I feel that newly qualified teachers always worry about, and a question that I get asked all of the time, is what can I do to prepare for my NQT year over the summer? I remember going through those exact feelings. I'd just been allocated my school, I'd been for my first visit, and I'd seen my first classroom, and I feel like as much as people say relax and enjoy your holidays, it was always constantly at the back of my mind, those little nervous butterflies in my tummy, thinking about what was ahead of me in August. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you my tips and advice for how to prepare for your NQT year, practical things that you can be doing before the school year starts. I've actually been working on a little series of videos all about the NQT year, so if that's something that you might find helpful, then make sure you're subscribed to my channel and keep your eyes peeled because they will be coming very soon. So my first tip is to know your school. There should be a lot of documents that you can find online in terms of like the school handbook and the behaviour policy, things like that should all be easily accessible. There might be a parent handbook online which might give you some really good insider info. You'll be able to get lots of little snippets of information, things like the school aims and values, the names of the different houses, if there's a whole school behaviour policy. You might be able to find out about current school initiatives and schemes that they use, and you can swat up on them before you start school in August. Make sure you get onto like the school social media if they have a public Twitter account. You might be able to see pictures of some of the current classrooms and get a little peek at the types of displays that are already up on the walls. Just through a few clicks you can find out so much information. If you're unfamiliar with the area that the school is in, then I would definitely recommend visiting, checking out the local area and all the things that there are to do. Once you're working in that school, you are really going to become a part of that school community, so it is good to be familiar with the surrounding areas and being aware of the sorts of things that are going on. So I would definitely recommend getting a feel for your school before you start working there. My next tip is very much going to depend on your school and your mentor. I feel like every NQT has a completely different experience, and that is to read up on any transition information that's been passed on. In my NQT year, I actually didn't get passed on a lot of transition information about my kids in terms of like their groupings and things like that, so that was all things that I had to very much decide for myself once we returned in August and I had an opportunity to kind of see where the pupils were at. But I know that some schools do provide you with a lot of information, and you might even have had an opportunity to speak to the prior teachers. It's really good to be aware of the needs of some of the children in your class, and if you wanted to, you could do a little bit of training or further reading, and that will just help you to feel prepared and confident for August. It may be that some of your pupils are coming together from different classes. They might not have been together as a cohort before, and you might have to do a little bit of matching up to try and get them into appropriate groupings, and gathering all that prior information about your pupils is really going to help you to build those positive relationships in that first week back. My third tip is something which I'm going to admit I didn't actually do when I started my probation year, but I wish I had, so I'm going to give that advice on to you guys. Read up on the probationer expectations. It is really handy to go into your probation year knowing what the expectations are and making sure that you get the appropriate support that you need. It's important to know things like how many mentor meetings you should be having and how many observations you need to have completed over the course of the year, and to just familiar yourself with all of the paperwork that you're going to have to be filling out. Obviously that is going to depend on a few things where you're completing your probation year. Here in Scotland we have the My GTCS online profile which needs to be filled out, and the year is kind of split into two halves, and in each half there are a certain number of meetings and observations which need to be recorded. There's also a minimum number of kind of training inputs that you need to reflect on. You need to set yourself targets and things like that. Obviously this is based on my experience as an NQT in Scotland. The expectation might be slightly different elsewhere, so just make sure that you find out as much information as you can about the expectations and the paperwork that you're going to have to be filling out as an NQT, because there is quite a lot of it. I would recommend for anyone to reflect on your development needs and your strengths from while you were at university, and really set yourself some personal goals that you can strive for during your probation year. Tip number 4 is to speak to others and to reach out. Make sure you have a really strong support system in place, because as we all know, it is going to be a very challenging year. You might have friends from your time at university. I know lots of people that were fortunate to have more than one probationer in their school, so they had, you know, close contacts that were in the exact same position as them. But I was actually on my own in my school. I was the only NQT. Definitely try and build those relationships with others that are working in your authority, and you never know later down the line when you might end up working with these people again. But as I said earlier on, no one's experience is ever going to be the same, so try not to compare yourself to them too much. One thing that I found was that a lot of my friends were posting on their teacher Instagrams over the summer about all of the things that they were preparing for their classrooms. You know, they were getting into their classrooms over the summer and setting up their walls and things like that. From my experience, my school actually wasn't really open much over the summer, so I wasn't able to get in and set up my classroom, and my mentor wasn't really available to work with me at that time. I think it is really important to point out that there is no necessity to prepare loads of things over the summer holidays and spend your break, you know, getting ready for starting back at school. So definitely don't feel guilty if, you know, you don't really know where to start and you don't have a lot that you feel like you need to prepare before you start back. But on the same level as that, you know, don't feel guilty if you do want to prepare things and if you are excited about setting up your classroom and that's something that you want to dedicate your time to over the summer. My tip number 5 was one of the things I was most excited for when I started my probation year, and that is starting to plan your classroom. I'd probably expect that by the summer, most if not every NQT will know the school that they've been placed in and the year group that they're going to be teaching, and hopefully most people would have had the opportunity to visit their school and go in and see the classroom that they're going to be working in as well. It's strange because as a student on placement, you know, you don't really have your own space and the freedom to make your own decisions about how you want your classroom laid out. The power is now in your hands and you can decide how you want things to be. And at first I was a little bit unsure about that. I felt like I was seeking the approval of others around me. But really, you've just got to make these decisions for yourself. You are going to be effectively living and working in this classroom for the next school year, so you want it to be an environment that you are happy with. I feel like some people are a lot more picky about this than others. Things you want to think about are your classroom layout in terms of where the pupils are going to be sitting and how you're laying out your desks and chairs. Have a look at the wall space that you have available and where your displays are going to be going. Depending on the age of your pupils, you know, you might want to have a little space on the carpet where pupils can come and sit and gather in when you want to tell them about something. You might want to have a kind of cozy book corner in your classroom or a little cam space that pupils can go to if they're feeling a little bit stressed out. Also, something that's really good to look at is the storage space that you have. So do you have kind of shelves that you can put pupil jotters on? Do you have a cupboard? Every single classroom is different and you're just going to have to adapt and find your own vision. Don't feel too pressured about the way that the previous teacher was running things. You're going to have to find a system that works for you and your pupils. In terms of things like resources, your school should most definitely be supplying those for you, so don't worry about going out and buying your own whiteboard pens and glue sticks and things like that. I would definitely wait in that case to see what your school is actually going to provide you with. Things like drawers, magazine holders and baskets, you can never go wrong with those types of things. There's always going to be stuff that you need a place to put. Things like bean bags and cushions, fairy lights, things to just personalise your room a little bit and make it a really cosy and welcoming environment for your pupils. I remember that I went a bit crazy buying stationery like a sellotape holder and an electric sharpener, and it actually ended up that my school provided those things for me. Definitely wait and see what you're going to have available to you before you go buying, you know, your own things to stock up your classroom. On the first day of school, we had access to a kind of supply cupboard, and that was when I learned the hard way that a lot of teachers will go and grab their own stashes. It is brutal, you know, teachers will go in and grab as much as they can and they will stash it away so that nobody else can find it. Don't be afraid to take what you need. Definitely buy your own wall stapler because those things are like gold dust. Consider how you're going to file and organise things in your classroom. Something that I found during my NQT year was that there was just so much stuff. Pupils are going to have loads of ongoing work, whether that's jotters and worksheets, things that need to be completed, work that needs to be marked by me, things that need to be filed away. Some schools have a very specific system that they use. You know, pupils might have a big ring binder folder each, they might have a tray that's underneath their desk, or there might be a kind of set of drawers in the classroom with each pupil's name on it where they can file away their work. Something that I found very helpful on that first week of school was to have pupils making up little folders. It could literally just be a Polly Pocket with a cover page on it, which has each of the curricular areas so that pupils can get into the way of organising their own work. You might want pupils to have a big art folder where they put all of their art into. You are going to have potentially 30 little people in that classroom, and that results in a lot of mess, a lot of stuff. So you definitely want to be organised in advance and think about where everything is going to go. Another tip that I have is to make sure that you do yourself a favour in the long run. Make sure that you keep a hold of all of the resources that you've been using on your placements as a student. If you are preparing any getting to know me lessons or activities over that first week of school, make sure you're saving copies of those so that the next school year then you've got a bank of resources that you can draw on. I would definitely recommend going digital because then you can always go in and edit things to meet the needs of your pupils. Definitely invest in a pen drive and increase your cloud storage so that you can have a folder for different curricular areas or for different stages of pupils, and save resources for future years. I know quite a lot of teachers who have big ring binder folders of kind of photocopyable master sheets, so that if they are looking to plan a problem solving lesson with their pupils, then they will go to their problem solving folder, open it up, and they'll have loads of worksheets which can just be pulled out and photocopied if needed. Another little time saving tip is to save any little example pieces you make for art activities. This is a really good one, especially if you're working in the younger stages of the primary school and you're making lots of little crafts and things like that. A lot of time is spent making templates and things for your pupils, so you know, if you have spent a lot of time in making something, then why not keep it, you know, put it in a little Polly Pocket, keep it in a big folder, organise it by topic, and then you'll have them for years to come. Especially things like all of those seasonal crafts that you make at Christmas time, the kind of activities that you're going to recycle year after year. It just saves so much time holding on to those. My next tip is to create basic reusable displays. I feel like there is a lot of pressure for teachers to go in and, you know, have these amazing displays up on their walls before the pupils are even stepping foot into the classroom at the start of the school year. I would definitely start thinking about the kind of foundation displays that you're going to have in your classroom that you're going to be able to use year after year. So I'm talking about things like your wall headings for the different curricular areas. Most classrooms will have a kind of literacy and maths working wall. That's a really good one to check in with your mentor on about, you know, what are the school expectations in terms of displays. In my NQT school, everyone was expected to have a class charter on their wall since we are a rights respecting school. Topic walls are always a really fun one to have, but again, that's going to depend on the space that you have in your classroom. Other things that you're going to be able to use year on year are things like a classroom jobs display. I'm forever talking about my visual timetable, which I absolutely love. You might want to start thinking about your class behaviour system. Just make sure you check in with the school behaviour policy before you go making up your own crazy system for your classroom. That is something you might want to hold off on until slightly later down the line. If you do have a copy of a kind of class register, maybe you want to make some little pupil name labels up, and then there's lots of fun little extra things that you could be preparing, things like a birthday display. You might want to have a self-registration area or a little morning health and wellbeing check-in. Something that I found extremely helpful during my NQT year was a fast finisher area. These are the types of things that are so fun to make and really add that little personal touch to your classroom and make it really welcoming for your pupils. And definitely don't worry about having absolutely loads of stuff up on your walls, you know, for that first week of school. I definitely had a lot of kind of blank headings and things waiting, ready to be filled with pupil work, and I think it is really important to kind of build the walls with the pupils themselves so that they feel a sense of ownership and they can take some pride in seeing their own work up on the walls and not just loads of stuff that you've pre-made over the summer. But that's going to very much depend on your school. You know, some schools are a lot more prescriptive than others in terms of, you know, what you should be having up on your displays, and some of that's going to come down to personal preference as well. I've definitely been hoping to make a display video very soon, so if that's something that you'd be interested in, make sure you give this video a thumbs up or comment down below and let me know. My next tip is to make some teacher social media accounts, things like a teacher Twitter and a teacher Instagram. I see so many new teachers doing this nowadays, and it's something I wish I'd done from the very start of my teaching journey, you know, as a student. Again, this is completely down to personal preference, but I think this is such a great idea. It's such a great way to share ideas and to record your journey as a new teacher. You're going to find so much advice and inspiration on there, so definitely get online, join a community of like-minded teachers. In terms of Twitter, that's a really good one for getting your name out there, especially in your local community. If your class are working on a novel, you know, you can tweet authors and things like that. These are professional accounts, you know, you never know when a parent might come across these, so definitely ensure that you have all of the proper permissions to post anything on your page. I would recommend investing in a teacher planner, and I am hoping to make a video very soon sharing my new teacher planner with you for the next school year. There are so many different nice ones online, and some of them you can get personalised as well with your name on them. It's okay to go a bit extra on your very first year of teaching. I would definitely say that a really valuable optimal use of your time is to prepare additional resources to support learning in your classroom. I feel like these are things that you just never get around to doing. It could be things like your morning starter. I have seen teachers that have made a slide for every single day of the year. Fast finisher activities and games. I am hoping to make a video all about my favourite extension activities and fast finisher activities because I could honestly go on about those all day. But again, there are so many different things available online, so go and check those out. Concrete resources, so things like number lines, common spelling lists, VCOP pyramids, place value grids. Obviously be aware that some of these things might be available for you to use in your school, but it is also really handy to have your own copies of these types of things because you never know when you might end up in a school which doesn't, or if you might end up doing some supply work, so it's good to have your own bank of resources to use as well. Something you're definitely going to be thinking about over the summer is that first week of school. You're going to want to start planning for the first day back. In that time, you're really going to want to focus on your routines and expectations, so really think about how you want your classroom to run on the day-to-day. You know, how are pupils going to line up at the start of the day? What do you want them to do when they enter the classroom? What is the expectation if they need to go to the toilet? I actually recently saw a really good checklist online which shows you all of the different routines that you need to make sure you go over with your pupils. And if you do have a lot of questions about that first day or week back at school, then do not worry, because I have a video coming up very soon which just talks about that first day and all of the things that I did. Think about the getting to know you activities that you want to do. If your school has provided you with a lot of information about the types of things that you're going to be doing after the holidays, then you might already know the types of topics and things you're going to be doing. So if you want to, you can get stuck in with your planning and have a think about the types of lessons that you're going to be teaching. But to be honest, my most important tip of all is just to take your time and enjoy it. Make sure you do rest and enjoy your time off while you have it. Make sure you see your friends and travel, watch Netflix series. You probably won't have a lot of time to yourself over those first few weeks of school because it's going to be such a busy and hectic time, and I feel like sometimes this is a hard one, but try and allow yourself to feel excited rather than worried and stressed. This is what you've trained for. This is hopefully what you've always dreamed of doing, so allow yourself to look forward to it and try not to stress too much. You know, it will be what it will be. Once the first day is over with, you can just take things from there, and as teachers we're constantly adapting and improving, so don't worry about stepping in on that very first day and being fully prepared, organised and confident, because it is a huge learning experience and hindsight is a wonderful thing. You know, I look back on my NQT year now and wonder how on earth I survived, because I just walked in so naive, not having a clue what I was doing, and if I can make it, so can you. That is all my tips for today. Please remember that as always, if you have any extra questions or if you want me to go over anything in any extra detail, my DMs are always open. My teacher Instagram is Miss Ross Teach, or you could just leave me a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, please give this video a thumbs up because it really does help to support my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!